After a day off yesterday, the Sox return to action as part of a 9-game homestand. They welcome in their interleague play rivals, the Philadelphia Phillies, here at U.S. Cellular Field. Thanks for joining us once again. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone along with you. Carlos Rodon, after July last year, had an ERA sub 230, and it looks like he's starting down that path again.
And he certainly wants to win today, but he also has an eye to the future. And with him, the last 3 starts have shown a little bit about what next year is going to look like. Against the Orioles, a bomber of a team. Then he went out against Miami, who has a terrific offense. Topped it off with an outing against the Indians. You know how good they are. And Carlos Rodon over the last 3 starts has done just about everything right. He's 1-0, his ERA an even 2. As you can see, 16 strikeouts in 18 innings. With only 5 walks, that's pretty good. You'd have to figure he is learning on the fly. They want him to throw more straight changes, and hopefully what he learns this year will hold him in good stead next year.
Well, the Phillies this year has kind of left the port, but there are a lot of young players, very talented players on this roster.
They got a couple of guys at the corner that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. They've got big power, and they also play pretty steady defense. Tommy Joseph, one of those guys, and there's a breaking ball down, and he rides it well out of the park. Philadelphia, a fine place to hit, but that one would have been out of any place. On the other side of the equation, Franco, who is one of the better young third basemen around, has big power. Despite the fact that the Phillies haven't done it, and despite the fact more times than not he's the only real banger in this lineup, they still pitch to him. When they do, they're in trouble. As you can see with Joseph, 4 for his last 10 in the last 7 days, a home run. A couple of runs batted in, but the slugging percentage otherworldly. 9 for 23 for Franco, a home run, 3 driven in, he scored 4. You're going to see a lot about this guy in the next couple of years. He's going to be one of the stars of this team. This is a very young team rebuilding, and he's one of the building blocks.
First pitch is coming up soon. Sox and Phillies, a roster move to tell you about as well after the break, as we take you halfway to Mardi Gras. It's Bourbon Street here on 35th. Chicago White Sox baseball is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. Honda, get the Honda you love at the Honda Summer Clearance Event, now at your Honda dealer. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Ford, America's best-selling brand 6 years running, inviting you to check out our fuel-efficient lineup at your local Ford store or at buyfordnow.com. And by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers. Test drive their all-star lineup today. Visit buyhyundai.com. Field, Phillies and White Sox about to get underway, and the Sox do have a roster move to share today. Jason Coates down to AAA Charlotte. Avisail Garcia is back from the disabled list with that sprained right knee, and Robin Ventura before the game reflected on Avi Garcia's year and talked about what he might want for the rest of the season.
You want to see him get out there and get better. I mean, offensively, I think he's come a long way from where he was early in the year. He's got some power numbers that you're starting to see a trend in a good direction for him. You know, defensively, he's had some work to do, and I think, you know, he can get to the point where he can be a outfielder that you want to have out in the outfield and can have some offense that's with it.
Question is, in the last month of the season, what can you show a coaching staff and a front office?
You can show them that you're learning about launch angle. They want him to hit the ball up in the air because he's so strong. Instead of hitting ground balls, they want him to hit the ball out of the ballpark. So the big thing is to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to hit. The question is, will he hit singles or will he be a home run hitter? That's to be determined this last month or 5 weeks of the season.
He's in the lineup tonight in right field as well. Avi Garcia and the Sox getting ready to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. It's a windy night at the ballpark. Could be some fun for the outfielders and the power hitters too. Baseball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. It is halfway to Mardi Gras night at the ballpark. No hurricanes in sight, but maybe they're getting cooked up in the bullpen bar. We'll find out as the night progresses. Let's give you the starting lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies. 58 up, 67 down. A lot of young talent in this lineup. 23-year-old Maikel Franco, we told you about in the open. He's the Phillies' RBI leader. Freddie Galvis, the shortstop, is probably the best running threat in the 7th position. And the veterans Ruiz and Burris dotting the lineup as well.
Let's take a look at the defense and how they're going to line up behind Carlos Rodon. It's Melky Cabrera, Adam Eaton, and Avisail Garcia playing right field tonight. It's Frazier, Anderson, Sanchez, and Abreu in the infield with Omar Narvaez behind the plate. And Carlos Rodon on the hill, coming off 3 fine performances. This is his 21st start of the year. He's 3-8, his ERA, 4.26. Opponents hitting a little higher than he would like at 2.89. He wants to work in that straight change, try to take advantage of this very young Philadelphia team and maybe over-aggressiveness. The umpires for the game tonight. Jeff Kellogg behind the plate. John Tompane is at first. Brian Honora at second, and Lance Barrett is at third. So Pete Buchanan. And on his left, the venerable Larry Boa, his bench coach. Pete's done a nice job with this team. They are quite obviously undermanned, but they're very young in a complete rebuild, and Pete is probably the man to get it done. So we're ready to play baseball. That means I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Jason Benetti.
Hey, thank you, Steve. Looking forward to it. Great night at the ballpark. The kiddies are in school once again. That has started once more. It is late August, and Carlos Rodon has a first pitch ball for Peter Borges. And we are underway from U.S. Cellular Field. There's a strike on the corner. You mentioned the Phillies' possible over-aggressiveness. Philadelphia is last in the National League in walks with 318 of them. And that's a sign of some youth. Right center field, Adam Eaton's on the case. And we have out number 1 of a scheduled 54.
You would certainly believe that with a bunch of young hitters who have yet to establish themselves. I'm not talking about Franco. He's kind of established himself in this league. But some of the other guys trying to make a name for themselves, trying to get used to pitching, they're going to swing at just about everything.
Here is one of those guys. It's Aaron Altair, a 25-year-old center fielder who is back from a wrist injury, out a couple months with a wrist injury that he suffered in spring training. For a Phillies team that they've been playing better baseball recently. And you would expect that, as you know, you hear about in college sports all the time, the freshmen become sophomores. For this Phillies team, these first-year players, second-year players are getting a full year under their belts.
They're 58 and 67, which isn't awful, especially in a full rebuild year where they've traded away and sent packing a whole lot of their older players. Next year, Ryan Howard will be gone. They'll exercise the buyout, and then it'll be young all the way around the infield and most of the outfield.
Into center field, that is a base hit for Aaron Altair, and he is the first base runner tonight in Chicago. Sox are in game number 4 of this 9-game homestand. You see Ryan Howard. This is the only active ballpark that Ryan Howard has not played in as a major leaguer.
Interesting to see what Pete McCannon does tomorrow night, or allows him to pinch hit tonight.
The Sox are short much left-handed help in the bullpen, save Dan Jennings with the trade of Zach Duke a couple of weeks ago. There you see the active leaders in home runs in interleague play. Ryan Howard, Jason Worth, a Philly and a former Philly, leading the list, and AJ down there at 5. So here's Maikel Franco taking the torch from Ryan Howard as the power hitting leader for the Phillies at 22 homers for Franco. Throw to first by Narvaez is late. Altair is back in.
Franco will have one problem, and that's a lot of young, especially young, powerful hitters. They have a tendency to get in a system where they just keep swinging as hard as they can. No different approach regardless of whether they have no strikes or 2 strikes.
How about a 3-0? He flashes a single into left field. Franco pushes Altair to second, and the Phillies have something cooking in the first.
I like what Pete McCannon did. These are such young hitters. It's 3-0. You're going to finish up the track this year. Give a guy the 3-0 green light so he knows what it feels like when it's a key situation in a couple of years when this team is in contention, and you do the same thing. Franco certainly one of their most, if not the most, productive hitter.
2 on, 1 out for Tommy Joseph, who, if you remember the name, he was a highly thought of prospect behind the plate in the Giants organization, who has made his major league debut this year, and he takes a strike.
It really works out well when you're the #1 prospect. Everybody thinks you're going to be really good, and you're a catcher behind Buster Posey.
Yeah.
You better play another position, son.
Or find a new zip code.
Or a new team.
Golfed foul right side. Well, you mentioned Buster Posey. You talk about the races going on in baseball. The Phillies are 15.5 out from Washington. The SS playoffs has left the port for Philadelphia this year, barring a run to the wild card. But the Giants are really in a battle with the Dodgers right now out west in the National League. Runners off from second, and Altair's going to have to go back on the foul ball from Joseph.
Well, that was heads up, and what Deander's going out there to talk to him about is looking back a couple of times, because Altair had a huge lead, Narvaez rather, and so if you don't look back twice, a guy gets your rhythm and uses that against you, and that's one of the reasons why they're meeting at the mound.
Conversation over for Carlos. A couple of young pitchers in this game. Rodon, 23. Jake Thompson, 22 years old. 2 strikes on Joseph. And down he goes. 2 away in the first inning.
When you throw 96 and it's on the outside corner, you're going to get your share of them. And if a hitter pulls off at all, you're just not going to make any contact. So a big strikeout and another guy who can hit it a mile.
Cameron Rupp, big catcher for the Phillies.
It'd be interesting to see how he does defensively, because we know that bat is major league ready and as powerful as anybody around.
The bat will play, as they say. 12 RBIs this month for Rupp. A lot of guys they've heard about for a while in Philadelphia coming through the majors now. There's ball 2, 2-0 on Rupp from Carlos Rodon.
Well, the Phillies are pretty lucky as an organization because 2 of their top prospects are catchers. You don't find that too often. Jorge Alfaro, he is one. Andrew Knapp, another one. Both catchers. Knapp, a switch hitter. Can't beat a switch hitting catcher if you can find one. And they got 2 young ones coming.
Fouled off 2-1. Alfaro was part of that same trade that got tonight's starter Jake Thompson along with a couple of others in that Cole Hamels deal.
6 for 1. They got 6 young players back. Hamels a terrific pitcher, but the Phillies were looking for numbers. They wanted to help rebuild their system, and they were able to do just that in that deal.
That was a strike. The catch didn't get it for him.
Let's hope that Jeff Kellogg calls that one a bit better the next time he throws it. And Narvaez just has a couple of words as he looks back. That ball had the whole plate.
Doubt it's going to show up as the worst non-strike of the year. We already had that scientifically, but it's a challenger.
It's certainly in the running.
I just love that people keep track of that. The worst non-called strike of the year. Yeah.
They keep track of everything else. No reason not to keep track of that.
3-2. Runners will be off. 2 down, first inning. There they go. And there he goes. Rupp fans against Rodon, who strikes out 2 in a row to close the top of the first. Robin Ventura, Eden Anderson Cabrera, Jose Abreu, 5 homers last 18 games. He's slugging .639 in August. Narvaez in the 7th spot. Avi's back, and Carlos Sanchez hitting 9th.
Let's take a look at the defense and how they're going to line up behind Jake Thompson. Goodell, Altair, and Borges in the outfield with Franco, Galvis, Burris, and Joseph in the infield. Cameron Rupp behind the plate and Jake Thompson on the hill. He's on his third organization. He's still very young. On for his fourth start, he's 1-2, 8.79 ERA, but yet opponents hitting just .250. So as you can see, too many walks, 9 walks and 14 in the third innings. So that's been the problem.
He's out of Rockwall, Texas, just 22 years of age. He turned 22 on January 31st. And he will face Adam Eaton, Tim Anderson, and Melky Cabrera to open play in the bottom of the first.
You'll know that he's right when he's throwing a lot of ground balls. He's got a good sinker, but has some problems. If the Sox are patient tonight, they will get their share of walks.
And there's the start at 2-0 to Adam Eaton, who's hitting .276, still leading the team with 7 triples. Fouled off, 2-1.
The fastball's not going to be overwhelming. He does have a good slider. And when the fastball's right, it sinks. Over the last 2 starts, 17 ground balls.
Here's a fly ball left center field for Eaton, and it's off the wall. Goodell runs into the padding, and there goes Eaton looking for triple number 8. He's in there.
This ball just barely stayed in the park as Adam Eaton got a good piece of it. That was a sinker, didn't sink. That was right down the middle of the plate. He fell behind. Goodell goes all the way back, and he didn't pick up the baseball. He actually jumped for the ball without seeing it, and of course, it's pretty tough to catch it in that case. Altair gets it back in, but not before. Eaton scampers to third.
So Adam now tied for second in baseball with 8 triples, and Tim Anderson tries to get him home with the infield back. The triple leader is actually in the ballpark today. That's Cesar Hernandez of the Phillies, but he's out of the lineup this evening.
Fell the ball off his foot, and they really expect him to come back and play tomorrow night, but tonight a little banged up.
This will do the trick. Galvis at short throws out Anderson, but Tim drives in Eaton, and it's 1-0 Sox. 2 batters into the home first. And we take this opportunity to tell you about our picks to click. You, the fan, using whitesox.com/pick-to-click, have chosen Justin Morneau. Carlos Sanchez to the crew today. Steve's going Todd Frazier, and Avi Garcia's in my corner. And the 2 guys involved in the run-scoring play are off the board. Good for us.
And good the infield was back. Pete McKinnon wanted to stay out of the big inning, so he was going to give up the run to get the out. That's exactly what happened.
There's Pete, the former Cincinnati benchman. Back in 2007. (2-0) on Melky, who's had a marvelous season for the Sox. And he takes to 3-0. Sox and Phillies will play 2 here and then 2 in Philadelphia in September to close out the season series. Don't go to sleep already, though. It's just the first inning. Ball 4. I don't know that toddlers' sleep schedules go by inning.
I don't think so, or runs for that matter.
So Thompson walks Melky, and here's Jose Abreu, who is absolutely lasering the ball all over the yard this month.
Starting to feel comfortable hitting the ball to all fields, and with that, he's starting to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
He takes inside. Average at .361 in August. Mentioned the slugging percentage above .630 for the month. Both those numbers compare favorably to his best moments in a Sox jersey.
And he's got a guy tonight that really has a hard time getting you out in the strike zone. Because when he throws strikes, opponents have missed only one pitch in 35 swings over the last 2 starts in the strike zone.
Isn't it interesting how that happens? Here's a guy who in the minors had a strikeout to walk ratio about 2.5 to 3 to 1.
Yeah, well, very, very comfortable. And, you know, that minor league lineup has a couple of guys that can hurt you. Major league lineups, especially American League lineups, have a lot of guys who can hurt you, and you do a little more thinking than you probably should, and you lose your control.
When did you finally settle in the majors and stop worrying about that sort of thing?
Last year. Yeah, it was just last year. I was still worried about control until then, but I've kind of settled in now. No, actually, it was probably, let's see, 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, it took that long. But I had to make a transition from a hard-throwing pitcher to a guy that couldn't throw hard anymore.
That's off the plate again. Everything inside against Abreu, and 2 on, 1 out in the first inning.
Well, eventually, we're going to see Bob McClure, who's the pitching coach, and I think we're going to see him now. He wants to go out there and have a word with Thompson before things get out of hand here in the first inning. You know, it's kind of interesting because when you come in, regardless of what kind of teaching you had in whatever league you might have been in, if you have really good stuff, then you depend on that stuff, and you don't really know about finesse. Now, I came in to pro ball with a big fastball and a big overhand curve, and didn't worry about changing speeds because I didn't have to, because I was getting people out wherever I went. And then all of a sudden you get to the major leagues because you've dominated people wherever you've gone, and you find out no matter how fast your fastball is, and even the good curveball, if it's always the same speed, you better never make a mistake in location. So then the major leagues will show you have to change speeds on everything, not just the curveball. You got to throw different types of fastballs, the 2-seam, the 4-seam. You would preferably love to have a changeup. I never had one of those, so I changed speeds off the curveball. But first of all, it took me a good 2 years to realize I didn't have a big fastball anymore. I was throwing as hard, it just wasn't going as fast. And that's a startling revelation when you've had one for the past 6 or 7 years.
Now here you have a former MVP staring you in the face with 2 on, 1 out. Morneau against Thompson. And a strike. Pitching coaches love that. Strike thrown right after they leave the mound, unless it gets hit into an alleyway somewhere.
And what he'd like to see, and what he was telling about, was throw some low strikes and get the ground ball, get the double play and out of the inning.
That ball stayed up on him, and it's 0-2 as Morneau fouls it away.
And we talk about sinker ballers being vulnerable in that first inning because the ball's not going to sink like it will later on as he gets into this performance. But in just his 4th major league performance, you got to figure lots of adrenaline, and the ability to control it is part of the art of pitching.
2 strikes to Morneau with Frazier on deck. That's way high. There's Todd. Home run leader for the Sox, 31 of them. Ball and 2 strikes. Yeah, not much of a feel for the curveball right now.
No, when that happens, you would love to shorten your stride and get over the top of it and get back to spinning it as opposed to just trying to throw it with velocity. But again, very young man. If he does stay around, he will eventually learn that.
22-year-old against the 35-year-old Morneau, who drags it back to him. Thompson to Galvis for the double play, ending up with Joseph. Thompson does get that bouncing ball, and the Sox do get a 1-0 lead. The distance here at U.S. Cellular Field. Sox leading 1-0 on a triple from Adam Eaton and an RBI ground out thereafter for Tim Anderson, as Rodon has strike one in a battle of the Carloses, Ruiz and Rodon.
Ruiz has been around for a while. He's been their #1 catcher for a bit, but that's going to come to an end after this season.
Just 4 years removed from an all-star season in 2012.
Nickname is Chooch, and he's been a popular player, but you know, he's involved with the Phillies team that's making a wholesale youth movement, and he's just not going to be part of it, especially with all the catching they have coming up.
Rodon, third straight strikeout. This one on an off-speed pitch for out number 1.
Gets him on a high slider. Probably not where he wanted to throw it, but it worked very effectively. Their new GM, Matt Klentak, he was brought to this organization by Andy MacPhail. Andy MacPhail runs the organization. You might remember him. He's been around for a long time. Had 2 World Series winners with the Minnesota Twins. Came to the Cubs. Went to Baltimore. Now he finds himself running the Philadelphia Phillies in a complete overhaul and revamp. And apparently their GM is pretty good.
Tim Anderson awaits eventually out number 2. Join us for Elvis Night and post-game fireworks as the Sox face the Seattle Mariners Friday, August 26th at 7:10 p.m. For tickets, visit WhiteSox.com. Wasn't that just the anniversary of Elvis's death recently? It's in August sometime.
Did he die recently, or
the anniversary of his death?
Oh.
When everybody goes to Graceland and piles flowers upon flowers upon flowers.
Well, I thought you were telling me something startling.
No.
It could have been a canard all of these years, by the way.
Do you think I was going to tell you they found Andy Kaufman too?
No, that I know. Yeah.
In the air and foul. You ever been to Graceland?
I have not.
It's quite the sight. It really is.
I've been to Memphis. I haven't been to Graceland.
You should go at some point. You know, you can buy a lifetime pass to Graceland. That's actually on the board of things that you can purchase.
I guess the first question I would ask is, do they serve anything there?
I have to imagine peanut butter and banana sandwiches, right?
That's not enough to get me there.
It's not? To the dirt, 2-2 on Tyler Goodell, the Rule 5 pick for the Phillies.
Tyler doesn't have a whole lot of power. I think he's going to hit a little bit, but it's not going to be big numbers, either driving them in or hitting them out of the park, although 4 and 16 in the power numbers.
2-2 from Carlos, just off the plate.
He's actually thrown awfully hard the first couple of innings. The last pitch that ended that inning to Cameron Rupp was 98 miles an hour. That went just off the corner at 97, so he's feeling pretty good tonight.
Average for the year coming into the game was 93 on the fastball. Popped foul below our booth. A cursory to below cursory effort by Steve Stone.
Those are the ones, though, that you don't mind coming back because they're not coming back with much on them. It's the Rockets you have to worry about. That was just a little easy looper that could have been handled.
3-2. And fouled away again. When I was at AAA, the one time I've been hit with a foul ball was by a Phillies farmhand. It was with the AAA team in Allentown.
Did it hit you in a bad spot?
Popped in the chest.
Did it really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got good hands.
Oh, certainly. Ball 4. 2 out, 1 on for Emmanuel Burris.
I'm going to just make an assumption that you probably were not looking at the field as that one came back, and fortunately, it did hit you in the chest.
No, I was looking at the field, and I was not using a headset. I was using a microphone on a stand. The ball comes buzzing back, and I kind of leaned back and left. And I thought I was going to get out of the way. I got my face out of the way, but I didn't get my chest out of the way. It spun the microphone around. You could hear it hit the microphone, and then it caught me in the chest.
I assume that one didn't feel too good.
Yeah, it didn't, and it was very much like the microphone you're using today.
Yeah, because of no headset.
Yeah.
Because of this,
well, it's old-timey day.
This is old-time broadcasting. You wear your cap.
And facial abrasion Tuesday.
Some bandages. Get a few things taken off, and here you go.
But that's exactly what the microphone looked like.
I do like it, and I don't anticipate getting hit in the chest with the line drive.
Well, it's because I'll take care of you. And Jordan will, too, our stage manager.
I have the hands of a sturgeon.
You do.
Remember that.
Yeah.
You're not going to get hit up here.
Hands of stone.
No, manos de piedras. I am quadrilingual, you know.
That's why your last name is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Esteban Piedras.
That is low. Folks at home are frantically trying to find their SAP button to get it back to English. That's Goodell at first. 2-1 on Burris. Yeah, that's high. 3 balls and a strike.
Manuel would be the last man you want to walk, especially heading to Borges, who is a veteran who can hit the ball hard. Burris, who spent part of his career with San Francisco, doesn't have a whole lot of pop in that bat.
(3-1) on the ground, second base. Carlos Sanchez closes out the top of the second inning. Bottom 2 next. 1-0 Sox.
Sox checking, an official White Sox debit card, only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC.
Sox and Phillies in a 1-0 score. Bottom of the second inning. Thanks for joining us wherever you may be. He's Steve Stone. I'm Jason Benetti. Our entire wonderful crew here at the ballpark tonight. There's Todd Frazier. And if you're picking road cities for Todd to play in, I know he was a big fan of going to Yankee Stadium, not far from Toms River, New Jersey, but Philadelphia isn't that long of a haul either from Todd's hometown.
Yeah, that's pretty much for him in the neighborhood. You'd have to think he'd like to bear down, and they have a shift, a severe shift on him.
His pull numbers this year, he had been a pull hitter prior to this. There you see the 3 to the left of second base. Todd's pulling the ball 51.1% of the time this year, and that's up from 46% last year, which is up from 37% 2 years ago. What does that mean to you, the fan at home? It means he's hitting the ball to the left side even more than he normally has.
It also means, I think it means that he's trying to hit more home runs.
You do?
Yeah, because if you go through the vacated right side, more times than not, that's staying in the park.
In the air, center field, right down the middle, and Altair tracks it for out number 1. Told you it's halfway to Mardi Gras tonight. It's a king cake speed race. That looks like fun, doesn't it? Looks like there's a diamond ring in both of them, the way they're going after it.
Looks like they're doing great. And because there's probably a little sugar in there, they're going to be spinning around like tops.
One down for Narvaez. I hope somebody does have the hurricane recipe from Pat O'Brien's down in the French Quarter, because that's the way to go if you're having an adult beverage or two. But don't have an adult beverage or two and then get on stilts.
I believe he was getting set to juggle. That's not easy. Not easy to be on stilts anyway. And of course, you got the lovely hats.
Very festive here tonight.
It is. And a beautiful night. Started out the game at 80 degrees, but a very windy night.
One and two from Jake Thompson to Omar Narvaez, who gets jammed and he fouls it away. Sox will play 2 with Philly, then 4 with Seattle, then hit the road for predominantly AL Central games to close out the season, whether it be on the road or here.
Those games with Seattle, very, very important for Seattle. They're 5.5 games in back at Texas, 10 over 500. That team still believes that they're going to catch Texas, although they're certainly making a nice case for the wild card. Baltimore has 68 wins, Seattle with 67, so they're right in the thick of it.
Getting healthier as the days go by.
No, they're a good, solid team. Jerry DiPoto's done a nice job. As you can see, the 5.5 games. Houston 8 games back. They brought up the top of the line Cuban player that they signed,
Yulieski Gurriel.
and Gurriel got a base hit in his first game. They believe at 32 years old that there's not much that he hasn't seen, so they're not worried about easing him into the major leagues. They just thrust him right in the middle of that lineup and hope that he can produce like they thought he could when they signed him.
Pitch number 8 coming to Omar from Thompson. It's outside and low. 3-2. 2 walks in the first inning for Thompson. Sox got a run on an RBI ground out from Tim Anderson, and there's Avi Garcia in his return from the DL, awaiting his chance. 3-2. Down the chute and line fair by Omar Narvaez, who continues his strong rookie season with a 1-out double in tonight's second inning.
That was a 9-pitch at bat, ending with a double, and the more you see of this young man, the better you like him. A battling at bat, worked it full, took it down the line, past Joseph, who doesn't have a whole lot of range at first, and a 2-base hit.
He's been fun to watch.
He's been one of the real big surprises, because you didn't hear much about him. And he came up, he got his opportunity. Some injuries gave him that opportunity. It's one thing to get the opportunity, another thing to make the most of it. He is making the most of it. Only once has he failed to hit safely in any of his starts this year.
So Garcia with a tip foul for strike 1. I mean, how often do you hear about exclusively A-ball catchers before a season starts? I mean, they're just not going to be on the radar unless they're a high draft pick.
The only way that happens, and it happened to the Sox, Adrian Nieto. It was a Rule 5, and he had to stay in the major leagues. So he came up, but as well as he looked behind the plate at times, he just didn't seem to have what Narvaez has. And of course, they sent him down, and that was it. But Narvaez looks very impressive. You like his at-bats. He makes contact.
He's not been a free out.
No.
in any of these at bats that I can remember. 33 of them. Ball and a strike to Avi Garcia. That's ball 2. Avi was down with the AAA club in Charlotte, which enters play today with Carson Fulmer on the mound this evening. In first place in the International League South Division, the Charlotte Knights.
And looking for just a bit better performance out of Carson than the first time out, which was very tough for him. 1 inning.
2-2 on Garcia, who homered last night with the Charlotte Knights in his final game in rehab. A 3-0 win over the venerable Buffalo Bisons. Two and two from Thompson. He gets Avi swinging for strike 3. First strikeout for Thompson.
He hung the slider before, and that last time it was a good slider. This one had late movement. Drops out of Rupp's glove. But it doesn't go too far, and he puts the tag out.
2 out for Carlos Sanchez. His 73rd at bat of the year. 9 for 72. Those numbers accounting for that amount of at bats. Ball 1. Sox and Phillies will play 2 more next month with bookend off days before and after the series. It's a called strike that was slightly off the plate. 1-1.
Actually, that day before the Philadelphia series is taken up with a 4th game against Kansas City.
Oh,
on
that's
an off day.
right. Thank you for that reminder.
So if you want to watch, that's going to be a titanic struggle.
Sanchez, the pop up. Freddie Galvis for out number 3. See, I forgot because it wasn't raining in my living room that night. 1-0.
Are you sure?
1-0 Sox after 2.
Third inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999 right now, and the 300th texter will win a $30 gift card to Subway restaurants in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do.
It's what we do up in the booth, too.
Well, you have some fresh gummy bears.
I do. Our daily gummy bear delivery.
Courtesy of Hannah.
Yeah. Our gummy bear purveyor. Strike one to Borges.
I would like to sell you a couple of gummy bears.
Unhand the gummy bears. Those are mine. You declined earlier.
Actually, they look very nice.
Left field, Melky Cabrera on the move for out number one. Join the White Sox Friday, September 9th for a night of music and dance as we celebrate the rich Southside Irish heritage. First 20,000 fans ages 21 and over will receive a St. Patrick's Day themed cap presented by Miller Lite. To purchase this specially priced ticket package, visit whitesox.com/SPD. By that point, I will be an expert on Irish history. I'll have spent 7 days in Dublin.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Being without me for 7 days?
Well, that too, but 7 days for you in Ireland, I think it's going to be wonderful. You're going to get a chance to broadcast some football, see some scenery, drink a Guinness or two, I would assume.
Well, there's work to be done, Uncle Steve.
Not all 7 days.
No. 2 strikes on Aaron Altair. He grounds that slider foul.
That wind is really starting to kick up. The flags are showing you that it's probably gusting up to 30 miles an hour.
Just walking around the city this morning and afternoon, it was a blustery one in Chicago. Foul away, still 1-2 on Aaron Altair.
Altair's got a chance to be a pretty good player, and they believe that it's going to be possibly center, but he could move to any corner. I mean, he's got that kind of speed, very graceful in center field. One of their best players, their all-star, Odubel Herrera, he is a center fielder, although they're not sure he can play center field better than Altair.
Well, Odubel Herrera has had a marvelous year. This offseason, he said, I'm going to swing at fewer pitches. I'm going to take more pitches, and he's really embodied that. He's been the rock for the Phillies.
This is a battling at bat. Is pitch number 9 on the way. Phillies lost a guy they considered one of their best, Aaron Nola. He had arm surgery, so there's no telling when he's going to come back. It was a big loss. A young pitcher, a good pitcher for this team trying to put everything together.
Would have been nice to have Aaron Nola pitching on halfway to Mardi Gras night, but sometimes fate doesn't smile upon you like that. Meaning New Orleans, Louisiana, shortened sometimes as Nola. Yeah. There's Odubel.
He's a good player. He's a really good player. Now, since the All-Star game, he's kind of tailed off a bit. But the Phillies realize that he's going to be around a long time for them.
3-2 on another slider in the dirt from Rodon. There is Maikel Franco, who singled in the first, waiting on deck. 11th pitch. Adam Eaton takes care of it. 2 away. So here is Franco, who extended his hit streak to 7 with that single in the first inning. Carlos lays in a strike.
Narvaez was opening and shutting his glove behind Franco. I don't know what he was trying to make him think. You can't look behind you.
Blooper, Eaton will hop for out number 3. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Carlos Rodon. 2.5 deep tonight at U.S. Cellular Field. Don't try that at home. Any of it.
Triple. Adam Eaton drives it to left center field. Off the top of the wall. Goodell cannot get it. That's the 8th triple of the year for Adam Eaton. The Speed Replay is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
There's that famed bubble for Adam Eaton.
One captured in perpetuity on the Grand Slam.
You have to imagine another Grand Slam's coming after that bubble.
At this time.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
Odds are low?
Odds are low. Very low.
On 1-0, a bunt stab past the mound, and that's big trouble. You get it by the pitcher. See you later.
And Thompson tries to get to it, realizing once he can't, there is no chance. A good heads-up play, a good bunt. Probably not the best. Adam would like to make sure that it doesn't wind up in the air, but it wasn't in the air long enough for Thompson to get to it.
So good speed and play here. Eaton at first, Anderson at the plate, and Thompson a throw over there. Good to have the guests from the Shed Aquarium in the booth.
It's kind of nice.
During the break.
Have you been there?
I have, yeah.
It's lovely.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mick Swasco and his crew are here. There's a pitch out and nothing is on. You learn something new every time you're at the Shed Aquarium. Including that swimming in the tanks with those very large sharks is a bad idea.
Or beating on the glass. Can't do that either.
Ball to strike on Anderson with Eaton at first. Third inning, Sox leading thanks to these two guys. Eaton a triple in the first, Anderson an RBI ground out. And that's your one run on the board so far. Hit hard right field. Borges, it's over his head. Eaton turns on the Jets. A big wave around from Super Joe. Anderson to third, and he hangs on. It's another triple. This one for an RBI. This one for young Tim Anderson. 2-0.
Tim did a great job because he came into third base awfully hard, and there is no doubt that Franco would have kept the glove on him. If he comes off the bag, he's going to be out. This is a hanging slider out over the plate. He drills it over the head of Borges in right field. He has no chance to get it, and then when he bobbles it, Anderson off to the races. Now, if you watch how hard he goes into third base, you'll realize you had best hook the bag, and he was able to do that with his left hand. He hooks the bag and stays right there. Drives in a run. His second of the night, 20th of the year.
Second triple for Anderson this year. His second for the Sox in 3 innings. And the infield in for Melky Cabrera. Ball 2, and it stays close enough for Anderson not to test Rupp.
And where Pete Buchanan didn't want to do it in the first inning, now you find yourselves a couple of runs down. You know the opposing pitcher is pretty good. You want to make sure you cut off this run if you can.
Tim's got to be aware over at third. Three 3-0 on Cabrera. You wouldn't imagine Anderson's coming home on a ball on the ground.
Well, I wouldn't think so with nobody out. I'd have to make it go through.
No chance there for Melky. He's walked twice in 2 trips, and runners at the corners for Abreu. First 20,000 fans at each game receive a Mertz cheese spread game card. Good for savings on delicious Mertz cheese in a deli or dairy case at your local grocer. Watching the White Sox and saving on Mertz cheese. Some fans have all the luck. Purchase your tickets today at whitesox.com or call 866-SOX-GAME. Chance to hit the detonator on this ball game for Abreu. With 2 on, nobody out, and an already standing 2-0 lead. Slider for a strike.
Last 18, hitting .361. He's hit 5 home runs, driven in 11. Scored 12 with 5 doubles, so things falling into place. And a golden opportunity to, at the very least, drive in his 68th.
Oh, 1. That was a hanger ripped off the mound into center field. There is that RBI. It's 3-0.
Thompson's hanging a lot of sliders tonight, and he's at the point where every time he hangs one, he pays the price. That one right down the middle. You can't back up a really good slider with one of those because you get hurt with it. And there's Bob McClure. McClure had one of the greatest left-handed moves in the game in his time in the major leagues, and he's trying to teach it to his pitchers, trying to impart some of that knowledge, because if you have a great move to first, and McClure was a left-hander, you get a great move to first, you're going to essentially shut down a running game, which he was able to do when he was pitching. So we'll take a look tomorrow in that ball game, and we'll see the finished product of a right-handed move that McClure taught.
For the moment, it's up to Justin Morneau, as we'll see Jared Eichhoff and James Shields get together tomorrow night. another one of the guys in that Cole Hamels trade. Everybody traded for Cole Hamels, it seems. Ball one, 2 more, no.
McClure went out there not to kill any time because nobody up in the pen. They don't want to go to the pen quite this early.
Two on, nobody out. Foul ball. There's one thing notably missing, by the way, from the Phillies bullpen, Steve. It's a left-handed reliever.
Yeah, well, it's really not all that bad if you get 8 really talented right-handers. If you don't, it creates a problem.
That was another hanger.
In the first inning, he showed a very good straight change, and that's what Morneau hit right back to him and turned it into a double play. But he hasn't used a straight change very much.
1-2. On the ground right side, Joseph to second, and a heck of a catch by Freddie Galvis for the out.
That would have been difficult, but could have been a double play. But Joseph rifles this ball, and it's not a good throw. And Galvis realized he didn't touch the bag. He was kneeling in front of it, then figured out, well, I'm only going to get one anyway, so I have a choice. I can roll on it, I can put my knee on it, or just tap it with my hand.
Well, they used to have the dance called the Freddie. Maybe that's a contemporary version. Morneau at first, Cabrera at third. Frazier takes the ball in the dirt. We've told you maybe more than you'd like to hear about it, about the number of close games the Sox have played this year. This is one of those opportunities to help give yourself a cushion and be able to step off the gas pedal just a little bit with the bullpen in a game.
You would like to think that this one won't be all that close, especially the way Carlos is throwing.
In the air, right field. Borges is back on it and entering the warning track. He reels it in. Melky tags and scores. It's 4-0.
At 77 driven in, and you know what I always say, that 4th run is the most important run.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, I've said that, oh, I can't remember for how long.
At least once in the last 20 seconds.
Yeah. And it's vital. So, a big sacrifice fly.
How big of a Billy Joel fan are you?
A lot. Yeah, I liked him.
How do you like his song Shameless?
Well, I like the different version called Shameless Pandering.
Oh, I thought it might be slightly autobiographical for you. One strike on Omar and 2 strikes on Omar. He doubled in his last at bat. That came last inning. Oh, 0-2. Thompson. It's a ground ball. Burris. There's the final out. 3 outs in the inning, but 3 runs in the inning as well. The Sox with that ever important 4th run. It's 4-0 after 3. prizes on the prize shelf to show you. Some great stuff. The gnome has fallen over, which is a problem. This is, oh boy. Don't let me near that.
That was a nice job.
This is an actual stopwatch.
It is.
Used by Nick Hostetler, who's basically the czar of the draft for the White Sox now. So there, that's his stopwatch.
We have a fallen gnome.
We do. We have a gnome issue, and you may have seen on the prize shelf over on the left, that is a Mark Burley Birmingham Barons bobblehead, which is an effort to fit as many B's into one sentence as possible. The Mark Burley Birmingham Baron bobblehead on the prize shelf for you to win in Sox Math tonight. One and two from Carlos. On the ground, Frazier to the backhand. There's out number one. Here's your Sox Math question for tonight. Hashtag Sox Math. First correct answer wins a prize off the prize shelf. Adam Eaton's triple total before tonight. Multiply Jose Quintana's win total as it stands. Subtract the number of Sox off days remaining with Steve's caveat from earlier. Add the number of White Sox pitchers with a save this season. That's your Sox Math question for tonight from here at U.S. Cellular Field. Hashtag Sox Math. First correct answer wins a prize. And Carlos Rodon to Cameron Rupp for ball one. It was really interesting, and we haven't had a chance to talk about this. The reaction of Jose Quintana to that 10th win. And you know that I've beaten the drum for wins don't matter all that much because pitchers have less control. Jose Quintana was like a kid in a candy store after that 10th win. He was overjoyed, on record about it, and you know, it's important to pitchers. Whether it should be or not, it's very important.
It is very important, and it was nice to see him finally get it. Well deserved, and he's going to probably go on a stretch of a whole lot of years where he's going to be equally as thrilled with the 15th win and possibly his 18th win, because I think he throws well enough, and assuming that the ball club that's playing behind him can put things together, both from the defensive, the base running, and the offensive side, he's going to be, I mean, he's a wonderful pitcher now. He's just going to get better.
Eaton left of center as the second out. But I did think it was worth mentioning because you hear it a lot about advanced statistics and the lack of importance, at least in some circles, of the win as a stat. But to the pitcher, there is grand value, at least to Jose Quintana.
Well, to any pitcher. I mean, when you ask him what he wants to do, he wants to say, well, I want to win the World Series. That's number one. That's a team goal, and that's something that everybody wants a chance to play in. You would love to get a ring. You just want to be a World Series winner just once. Then when you do that, you want to do it twice. But from an individual standpoint, every hitter wants to hit 300. Every starting pitcher wants to win 20 games. They can tell you whatever they want. But 20 games is the key. And I don't think that's out of reach for Jose Quintana because he throws over 200 innings every year. He makes 32 or 33 starts. That's what you really need to do something like that. And he's got the ability to do it. He's very durable. He doesn't go up and down emotionally. He seems to pitch out of just about every jam he gets himself into. And those are the kind of pitchers that win a whole lot of games.
He's beloved in the clubhouse as well. 2-2 on Ruiz. Carlos Rodon looking for his second straight 1-2-3 inning. It's low on a fastball. 3-2. Two hits for the first three batters tonight for the Phillies, none after that. And Tim Anderson makes sure that continues. Neat play from Tim in a 1-2-3 fourth.
of interesting. It was a nice exchange between Carlos Rodon and Omar Narvaez. He realized that even though he got him out, it wasn't a good pitch. And obviously he gets a low 5 from Narvaez because he did retire Ruiz. However, when a hitter hits a ball in a sweet spot, as Ruiz did, a pitcher knows that he didn't make the pitch he wanted to make. That is progress on the part of Carlos Rodon.
There's a strike to Avi Garcia, who's over 1. Just that understanding.
Well, it's knowing where a hitter hit the ball on the bat, and he squared it up perfectly, hit it on the sweet spot of the bat. And that means that he's right on whatever it is you threw, and he probably didn't throw it exactly where he wanted to. So that's what's going to get him to be a really good pitcher. The fact that he's not happy with just outs. He wants to make good pitches. If you do that, guy's not going to hit it on the good part of the bat, and more times than not, you're going to get him out without a lot of problem.
Altair for out number 1. Here's the pitch you're talking about.
Okay, now that's a sinker. And even though he got him out, and even though the ball sunk, he wanted the ball middle in, he got it middle out, which allowed Ruiz then to go out and hit it on the sweet spot of the bat. Fortunately, it was a one-hopper. Anderson made a terrific play on it. But when a pitcher sees that, he knows next time up he's going to have to make an adjustment.
And part of that comes from the fact that there are detailed scouting reports on all of these hitters. You know where you want to pitch a guy.
It doesn't mean you're going to get him out, but you know where you have to have the pitch. And sometimes you get it there, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get him out on a pitch that backs up, that's supposed to be low and away. It backs up, it's on the inside, he swings through it.
2 strikes on Carlos Sanchez from young Jake Thompson, 22 years old. Slash to third, Maikel Franco. 2 down, and here's your Sox Math answer for tonight. Eaton's triple total was 7 before his earlier triple. Times 10, Quintana's wins. 70 minus the off days remaining 2, plus 4 number of Sox pitchers with a save this season. 72 is your answer, and Mike Ganella is your reigning Sox Math champion until tomorrow, when he'll have to defend his crown in the 4th inning.
You know what's kind of interesting, and I think you might have ruined his career.
Okay.
Since you met with Patrick Knowles, he has not won.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with you, and I think, you know, he's just depressed.
I think SSSP Knowles is gonna make a comeback.
You think so?
Yeah, I feel like he was really down in the dumps that he didn't win the first half prize for the Tournament of Champions. He was feverishly working. Sparks were flying off his keyboard, but he did not have the correct answer in time. As it's 3-0 on Eaton. Three walks, 1 strikeout tonight for Thompson. The guns in, strike 1. Left side, Franco near the tarp. And there is out number 3. 2 hats are better than 1, Maikel.
Bank now get access to over 45,000 fee-free ATMs nationwide.
Strike one to Freddie Galvis. I'm just glad that you don't say ATM machine like some folks do, which is automatic teller machine. 2 strikes.
I've got all of this newfangled stuff down pat.
2 strikes and a foul ball. I've often wondered what puts something in the category of newfangled.
Anything that isn't a dial phone.
When you go to the Rotary Club, it's just a bunch of people with phones.
That's exactly right.
Last foul by Freddie Galvis, who bounced out to short in the 2nd inning. Here we are in the 5th. Sox with 3 runs in the home 3rd.
And Carlos Rodon making it hold up with an out in the 1st inning. He gave up back-to-back singles, and that's it. No more hits.
As we said, I mean, the Phillies have played better baseball recently than at points this season. Yes, they come in at 9 games under 500. 2 of 4. They just came off a 4-game win streak, which came at the expense of the Dodgers and the Rockies. They've played almost exclusively the National League West for a long while. 3 with San Francisco, 3 at San Diego, 3 at the Dodgers, 3 with the Rockies, 3 with the Dodgers again, and then 3 with St. Louis that just finished.
Well, what they're going to have to do, as well as developing some of their young position players, they're going to have to put together a pretty solid pitching staff, because you got to deal with Washington. You figure the Mets are going to have good pitchers for a while, and you got Miami.
Right center field, Avi for out number 1. Well, the Mets pitching staff includes the brother of the next hitter for the Phillies. Tyler Goodell's brother Eric is a pitcher in the Mets organization who spent some time in the majors this year. It will be worthwhile to watch what happens with the Nationals with the injury to Steven Strasburg.
He's had periodic elbow problems, as we know. The question will be, do they want to limit his innings a bit, just putting him out for precautionary reasons and letting it get in pretty good shape for the playoffs, because undoubtedly they're going to be there.
You say the phrase limit his innings. Anywhere near K Street and our capital, people start to freak out when it comes to Steven Strasburg.
I mean, that did happen, but that was his first year. And Mike Rizzo says he would do it again in the same situation. Is lay him off, and you don't go deep into the playoffs because you don't have the guy at the time setting the league on its ear. But in the meantime, Strasburg is still around, and Washington is still 8 games in first place over Miami.
2-2. Back to the mound. Carlos on the backhand. We're on number 2. Here comes the DC native Emmanuel Burris, who's 0 for 1.
Well, the Rangers are not taking a very long time to bring up Carlos Gomez. He will come to the Rangers and join them on Thursday. So if he can indeed play, and play a whole lot better than he looked in a Houston uniform, which is a distinct possibility, still a relatively young man, they get a pretty good player for nothing.
A player that you got to believe wants to really do some significant damage to his former team.
Yeah, but right now Texas keeps beating Houston without a great deal of difficulty. What they got to do is subdue the Seattles.
Coming to theaters in 2017, starring Tom Hanks. 2-0. Sanchez. Calm seas for Carlos Rodon. He has retired 10 in a row since a second inning walk.
About retroactive to August 21st this season. All he's done is go 15-4 with a 3.59 ERA. 179 strikeouts, 145 in the third innings. That's the injury report brought to you by Dr. Anthony Romeo Orthopedics. If you have any shoulder or elbow problems, go to RomeoOrthopedics.com or call 312-432-2342.
Bottom five, first pitch, Tim Anderson, strike one. 22-year-old Jake Thompson was giving up a triple to Anderson. Tim's got 2 RBIs tonight. That's well struck and a leadoff single.
You keep hanging him sliders, you're going to be in big trouble. That slider was up. Didn't do a whole lot, and Anderson just jumped on it. This is a young hitter getting much more aggressive. There you see the slider. And he was very fortunate that he didn't fall off a little bit more to the first base side. Well, that one could have been costly for the young man.
Tim's back in. Sox and Phillies will do it again tomorrow night. 7:10 start time. James Shields, Jared Eichhoff, your pitching matchup. And the Sox will see Seattle for 4.
I want you to look very carefully at the move of Eichhoff tomorrow night.
You do?
Yes.
Is there going to be a test?
Well, James Shields has a wonderful move to first base, always have. And I think we're going to see 2 guys with great moves to first base.
Anderson nearly was thrown out at first there. All right, I'll watch.
Aggressive base runners are going to get picked off.
I was planning to leave everything on the right side of the field to you, but now tomorrow night I will focus on it.
You have to focus on that move.
Okay.
It's going to startle you.
Is this some sort of dot camera offshoot?
Maybe. I think we're going to read that later on.
I believe so. And a discussion, some question on whether or not they want to challenge.
They want to see if they want to take another look at it.
Phillies do have their challenge.
Yeah, I think that they want him to take a look at first. We'll take another look. Anderson leaning the other way. Now, when you do make the tag and it's very close to the armpit, from that angle you can't really tell, but don't forget definitive proof. The call was safe on the field.
Yeah, you're looking for that clear and convincing evidence, as you said, otherwise known as definitive proof. The umpire is talking it over with New York. There's an umpiring crew in Chelsea.
Yeah, with some technology that really slows it down.
So you all know at home, the views that we're seeing are the camera views that they're watching, but there is the ability to zoom in significantly more than we see on our screen in New York on a play like this. Again, in order to have that clear and convincing evidence, that definitive proof, you need to have an angle that has both tag and hand, as we saw with that play that had the dirt kicked up over at third about a month ago. If you can't see it, you can't overturn it.
And that wasn't a question of the call being right or wrong. It was a question of no definitive look.
The starting position for the crew in New York is what was the call on the field. The call in this case was safe, and so if there's no clear and convincing evidence, Tim's going to stay at first, as you see in our My 50 edition of Picture in Picture. Sometimes when there's a long delay, the crew is waiting for a slow-mo version of the replay you're seeing. Here's the call, and it's out. Good challenge by McCannon.
It's a good throw on a quick move, and the tag goes right under the armpit. And they say in New York that the hand did not get to the bag. So they overrule the play.
So there's a difference between, yes, we saw what we saw, and my inkling from watching that last replay would be tag, then hand coming in.
Yeah.
He was out. But I don't know that we saw an angle that rises to the standard of clear and convincing. But again, the technology, that's why what we were talking about is so important. The technology that they have in New York in the war room is significantly more granular than what we can show you sometimes. And some people say, well, why not, like football, have the referee, umpire in this case, go under the hood and just do it in the ballpark? The reason to consolidate it is that technology boost we're talking about in New York. Three and two on Melky from Thompson. Melky Cabrera.
He's the one guy you can't pitch to.
And 3 walks. Sunday, August 28th, it is Husky Day at U.S. Cellular Field. Purchase tickets using the Northern Illinois University ticket code and receive a ticket voucher good for a White Sox NIU co-branded hat. Northern Illinois University, your future, our focus. Purchase your tickets today at whitesox.com/NIU. That ball's drilled by Abreu, and it is gone.
That was a no-doubter. He got a first ball fastball. That fastball was in about thigh high. And he hit his 17th home run of the year. And this is a guy that we saw the previous 2 years. The same guy that we're seeing the last 3 weeks. Jose is really coming alive. He's got 70 driven in with his 17 home runs.
That was a pitch that earlier this season he might jam himself on.
He wouldn't have gotten to it.
Morneau with a laser. Right field. And they go back to back. Abreu and Morneau.
5 and 16. He got one that just drops on the outside corner, reaches out, takes it out of the yard. So that's 31 games. And Morneau with 5 home runs and 16 driven in.
You prorate that over a full season. Talking about 25 to 27 home runs.
Yeah, he's shown that he's back 100% and healthy. And that's one of the gambles the Sox took, one of the moves they made that turned into gold. Justin Morneau looks like he's still got a whole lot of play left. The pen is up and going. David Hernandez.
You know, the Sox offense, which at points this season has not provided what Sox fans would like. You look at what the Sox have done in the month of August in terms of their ability to churn out hits, and they are top of the heap in Major League Baseball. Frazier goes down swinging, 2 away. Sox 12, 10 or more hit games since August 1st, tied with the Indians and Rockies, the Mariners with 11 of them. And we will see Seattle coming in here. By the way, with the home runs, another couple of generous donations from the Alex Nellius family in loving memory of Ursula. I mean, look, you never know what an offense is going to do at points in the season. As Eaton and Morneau do charades.
Well, what Adam is doing is mimicking the follow-through of Justin Morneau. He not only takes the bat through, but then finishes with a flourish at the end. He's always had that.
Joseph off the bag to create the final out of the inning. But the Sox go back-to-back. Jose Abreu first, 2-run shot. Then Justin Morneau to right field, 7-0 after 5. 7-0 lead on the visiting Phillies, who didn't know what they were going to get into tonight with a Sox offense that has erupted, including back-to-back homers. If you just tuned in, you missed it by not much. As Peter Borges, who was born in Park Ridge, comes to the plate. As the story goes, his father, who's a longtime scout, Chris, says that there was a major rush to the hospital on March the 31st when Peter was born in 1987 because one of the great fears of the family. Borges to left field, and this will be extra bases for the Phillies leadoff hitter, who was in a great hurry to get to second base. The idea was they didn't want to have an April Fool's Day baby. If you don't make it on March 31st and he's born on April 1st, people are going to be playing pranks and japes on him his entire life.
But nobody would have forgotten his birthday.
That's true, but they would have pretended that they did ad nauseum.
In the meantime, that's the first hit since the first inning.
Back-to-back singles from this guy, Aaron Altair, and Michael Franco. As there is strike number 1 to Altair. He's got quite the streak going, Aaron Altair. It is 11 straight games with a strikeout. It will not continue here. Anderson looks Borges back and one away. Join the White Sox for Zubaz Palooza Thursday, August 25th. Purchase tickets using the Zubaz code and receive a specially priced game ticket and a voucher for your White Sox Zubaz pants. Visit whitesox.com/Zubaz.
Just a couple days away.
You're waiting with very bated breath.
Yeah, I need a couple pairs of those.
A couple?
Yeah.
What do you plan to do with them?
Oh, I don't know. Sell one.
There's a ball that was a strike.
Raffle one off.
A Zubaz raffle?
Yeah.
I don't think that's allowed.
You sure?
Yeah, I think you have to keep the Zubaz if you get the Zubaz. Well, there goes the helmet. Franco's lost his hat going after a foul ball and his helmet swinging at a baseball tonight.
Well, leaving nothing to the imagination with that swing. He was trying to hit it 8 miles, but no contact.
Early returns in the Franco headgear war as the headgear trailing.
In the meantime, a very good play by Narvaez, because that one could have easily have gone to the screen. Hard to reach across your body to get 96-mile-an-hour fastball way out of the zone.
2-1 from Rodon. Now 2-2. He goes downstairs to Franco. Just short of 95 pitches, Carlos Rodon. Borges, a leadoff double. Two and two. Crack foul. Boy, there's some power in that bat, isn't there?
He's got a very lively bat.
Entering plate. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say he still hasn't reached his ceiling yet.
Henry played tonight, 22 homers, 72 RBIs for just the 23-year-old Maikel Franco. 2-2. Tipped foul. Royals are leading 1-0 in Miami, top of the 9th. Kansas City a game behind Detroit for second place as play started today. Tigers are tied with the Twins at the top of the 6th, 3-3. As Anderson gets a visit again and throws out Franco 2 away. Borges has yet to move after his leadoff double.
First couple of innings were a bit shaky. Gave up a couple of hits in that first inning, walked one the second inning. Outside of that, pretty solid, as he's going to deliver pitch number 98, and he's been in control the whole way.
Tim Anderson, busy man. 6 innings for Carlos Rodon in every start in August. He's got a 7-0 stranglehold tonight in the opener against the Phillies.
TV.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. Sox Game Zone is powered by Dodd Camera. It's family owned for 125 years, handling all your photographic needs. Dodd Camera, where the focus is on you. And it's the AT&T Call to the Pen, brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world. And it is David Hernandez. On for the 57th time. He's been a busy man. ERA at 4.19. Opponents hitting .269. The whip is a little higher than he would like. Giving up 61 hits in 58 innings and 10 home runs. That is a high total, but he pitches in a home run ballpark.
He'll face Avi Garcia first after Jake Thompson went 5 innings, gave up 8 hits, 7 runs, all earned. 4 walks, 2 strikeouts for Thompson in his 4th major league start.
Chris Beck loosening in the pen as Carlos Rodon is nearing the 100 pitch mark.
Avi the other way down the line. He's got 2 on his mind. Leadoff double. Welcome back, Avi.
He got an inside fastball and inside outed it. The ball down the right field line. This one falling, and then no chance at all to throw it Avi at second base. So a nice promising start to the 6th inning.
After a 3-run 5th. Ball 1 to Sanchez, who is 0 for 2 with a pop out to short. And a searing line drive to third. And Maikel Franco. And through on the ground from Sanchez. Here comes Garcia, bobble for Borges, and he had no chance anyway. It's 8-0.
RBI number 4 is trying to do the right thing, as Carlos was. He knew he had to pull the ball, at the very least move Garcia around to third base. He was able to do that and get a base hit and a run batted in.
So here's Adam Eaton. Nothing in 1. Adam 2 for 3. Single run scored, triple run scored, foul pop out to third. Sanchez at first, still nobody out. Cameron Rupp has seen a couple nearly get away from him this at bat. Sanchez still holding at first.
So he's going to have to handle another slider. He was able to smother it, kick it out front.
David Hernandez, who came up through the Orioles organization, on 1-2 for Eaton. On the ground, Galvis, Burris, and Eaton beats it out. Still has not grounded into a double play since May the 9th. And 1 away. Time for America's fastest growing sensation, Sticks and Stone. How'd you do against Greg Luzinski?
Well, I can honestly tell you that I don't remember facing him.
Oh. So how do you think you did?
Well, for a very strong man, he stood right on top of the plate. I do remember that. I do remember he had a short stroke, which usually means he did pretty well. But because he doesn't stand out, I'll say I got him.
You got him good?
I don't think I faced him all that many times.
Do you think you faced him at all?
I must have. You put him up there.
Oh, that's not true.
Really?
Doesn't have to be the case.
Well,
we could put up Mo Vaughn.
True. But then you'd have to put up Steve Phillips and the fact that he gave a big contract with the Mets and he fell down the stairs of the dugout and it didn't work out for him, and you don't want to do that. So sorry, Steve.
The only part of that was not true is the sorry, Steve. Ball and 2 strikes from Hernandez to Anderson. Eaton at first. Anderson on the ground. Galvis. Burris. Safe again.
2 pretty fast men you're trying to double. And Burris had a better chance on this one because he was closer to the bag and came across without making the low sidearm throw. He's on the bag and he's able to get the throw off, but Anderson just too quick. Even if this one sticks in the glove of Joseph, he's going to be safe.
And again, you don't have a guy who's a normal, regular, grow up as a first baseman type of guy at first. Joseph, the former catcher. Here's your answer to Sticks and Stone. Greg Luzinski is the guy that we asked you about. Let's see. How did you do?
Oh, he hit 300, but you know what? He was a home run hitter and didn't hit one.
So remember when you said that you didn't remember facing him?
I faced him 20 times.
That's what we call repression.
Wow. Yeah, I tried to forget most of the guys that hit 300 or higher.
So this is if I were the defense attorney for the Stone group, I would say this. Luzinski was 3 for 5 in his last game against you, and 3 for 15 otherwise as a Philly. So the Philly version of Luzinski did really very little against you. You just had a bad day.
And last time?
Yeah, last time.
I think I was terribly injured that day.
You do?
No, actually, I can't remember it at all.
You had a facial abrasion that day?
I blacked out everything after the end of 1980. Go on. It's not
all
there.
gone.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Greg. You win the 300 award.
Down the left field side for Melky, and he plops it in. Fair ball. Anderson racing around third. Tim is home with run number 9. Melky was so excited he finally got to hit a ball. He punched it down the left field line.
And he drives in his 57th run. The speed of Tim Anderson was the only thing that got Melky his run batted in, as Anderson flying around the bases. Goodell to Galvis, not in time.
Nine zip. Abreu braces for ball number 1. So 3 walks, 2 runs scored, and that double number 30 for Melky Cabrera. Anderson 2 runs, 2 RBIs, a triple as well, and 2 hits.
Back in 2012 with Arizona, Hernandez had a whale of a year. He had a 2.50 ERA in 72 appearances. Year before, still pretty good, 5-3, a 3.38 ERA in 74 appearances. So those 2 years, I mean, he was fairly close to unhittable. 49 hits and 69 in a third. And the next year, 48 hits and 68 in a third. Couple of big years with the Diamondbacks.
One of those guys that when he finally got converted from starter to reliever, found himself.
And then unfortunately, as happens to so many of those relievers, when the appearances pile up, he had 2 great years, and then the ERA nearly doubled to 4.48 in 2013, and then he got injured.
2-1. Turns to 3-1 on Abreu, who's not made an out so far tonight. A walk, an RBI single, and a 2-run homer against the starter, Jake Thompson. In the air, right field side, and nicely played by Borges to send the Phillies to their dugout. But the Sox grab 2 more. 9 zip tonight after 6.
Check out the White Sox baseball blog at WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent, serving the area for 38 years. To join the nation, visit JeffVuk.com, because Nationwide is on your side.
Always comforting to know. Ball number 1 to Cameron Rupp. Carlos Rodon, who has given up only 3 hits tonight, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Foul. Young Phillies team. 27-year-old Rupp. Galvis 26, Goodell 23. A lot of guys under team control in an era when you don't see that a whole lot.
No, and they got some good young players coming up. But next year's not going to be their year. Next year they're going to get guys in the position that they want them in, start to learn how to play together. And next year and the year after that, they're going to be able to start melding together as a team and learning how to win.
Well, there's a lower bang for your buck this offseason. However, the free agency class is not as strong as we've seen in years past. So trying to fit those guys around the youth for the Phillies might be a little bit more difficult this time, as there's a foul ball.
Well, I don't think they're going to go out next year and delve too deeply in the free agent market, because they're not ready yet. And so with a team that has a lot of young players that's not ready to win, you don't want to spend a great deal of money on guys and wondering if they're going to work out for you, because if it makes a difference of 3 or 4 wins, it won't help you. I think they're going to wait for the next year. I'm going to think they're going to wait to see who's going to catch for them. Is it going to be Alfaro? Is it going to be Knapp? And, you know, and then what do you do with Rupp? He's a guy with potential to hit 25, 30 home runs behind the plate. They got J.P. Crawford, a shortstop, coming up, and it looks to me like he is going to be their shortstop of the future.
Strike 3. Rupp goes after ball 4, and Carlos runs it up to 97 for his 4th punch out.
You know, he's kept the velocity pretty close to the same from the beginning. We saw him up to 98 early, and now he's still at 97. So the fastball's still there. It's still got some late life.
So now Carlos Ruiz to take strike number 1. The Phillies, as you said, you know, it looks like probably a 2-year window, but you never know when your team's going to be ready. You think you know, but you don't know.
True, but I think a good general manager that has a pretty good idea who's coming and sequentially how they're going to come to major leagues. I remember talking to Dayton Moore about his Kansas City team, and he told me that they're not going to be competitive, really competitive, for the next 4 years.
Right side, Sanchez skates over. Avi into place for round number 2.
And he was exactly right. He realized that he had the corners coming in Moustakas and Hosmer, but they weren't ready yet. He was going to bring them to the major leagues and know they'd go through some growing pains. He had Gordon. He was a little more advanced than the other two because he was drafted before them. As Robin comes out, that's going to be it. Rodon at 109 pitches. He's had enough. He was absolutely brilliant. 6 2/3 innings tonight. He gave up just 3 hits. What a job he did. A standing ovation from the crowd. Folks, you're looking at White Sox future wrapped up into a very talented left-hander who's starting to understand how to do it on a daily and nightly basis. So as he disappears into the dugout, we're going to step out and be back after these messages. Chris Beck comes into the game.
And he'll face Freddie Galvis first for ball 1.
6 2/3, no runs, 3 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts for Carlos Rodon. Beck on for the 10th time, his ERA up over 6. He's trying to get that really good stuff over the plate consistently.
Narvaez has no room. Carlos tonight, what did you like most?
I love the fact that in the first inning he gave up back-to-back hits, hard hit balls to Altair and Franco. And then in an inning which is usually problematic for most pitchers, he just settled back, really reached back to get a blazing fastball to Joseph and Rupp, and threw it just both by him, got out of the inning with no problem, and then just coasted from there. So it wasn't that he was overwhelming with his fastball. I like the fact that it was 96 to 98 in the first inning, pretty much the same thing in the 7th. But I like the fact that he was throwing strikes with it. He only had 1 walk. He went to a 3-ball count a few times, but he always threw strikes after that. Had some battling at bats and won those battles.
That's a long fly ball to right field, and Freddie Galvis has left the yard and broken the shutout.
Galvis has got some pop. That's his 13th home run, his 51st run driven in. He got a fastball right down the middle and took it out.
All right, Freddie Galvis has been playing professional baseball since 2007 when he was a Williamsport crosscutter. Entering this season, he had 45 home runs, 25 in the minors, 20 in the majors. He has 13 homers in 2016. That is a significant jump.
It is. And they like his defense.
One and one to Goodell. That ball and 2 strikes. Freddie Galvis had a very interesting, he kind of had a little altercation with the Phillies front office. There was a young lady who was a young girl who was hit by a ball at a home game for the Phillies. Freddie Galvis, having a young daughter of his own, came out very staunchly against the shortened netting at home for the Phillies and said safety's got to come first. Safety's got to come first. Major League Baseball made the recommendations about the length of the net, suggestions to teams, and there are a couple teams that have gone all the way through to the edges of the dugouts, Kansas City being one of them that we've seen. Freddie Galvis was adamant that that needs to change. Up the middle, second base, Sanchez for round number 3. Galvis's home run gives the Phillies their first run. The Sox 9-1 at stretch time.
have to start winning some games. Detroit has taken the lead over Minnesota.
5-3 in the 7th. Their National League. Pirates home for the Astros in interleague play. Texas, Cincinnati. These are all National League home games. A.J. Ramos back for the Marlins. Not enough. 1-0 win for the Royals. And the Rockies and Brewers playing in a game of consequence to our north. What consequence we're yet to learn?
We'll see the consequence as we move a little later in the year. Michael Marriott, the new pitcher, on for just the 8th time. He's 1-0. He's only thrown a grand total of 7 1/3 innings. But 1 walk and 8 strikeouts is impressive. He has, however, allowed 2 home runs.
And he awaits for Morneau, Frazier, and Narvaez in the 7th.
The Sox took a gamble on a 1-year contract to Justin Morneau, knowing that he was going to take some time to recover from elbow surgery. And it's really worked out very well for him. And some others. The Orioles took a gamble on Pedro Alvarez, who was the #1 pick of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tremendous power. Probably didn't work out as well as he would have liked it, but for the Orioles, he is hitting the ball awfully hard, as we saw in this ballpark. He's a big factor.
0-2 on Morneau, who homered in the 5th. The solo shot.
Then Doug Fister, the Astros, took a gamble on him on a 1-year contract. Paid him $7 million, which for a starting pitcher these days, if you're going to take the ball 32 times, that's a bargain.
Marriott, a strikeout of Morneau, 1 away. White Sox fans, don't let aches and pains keep you from doing the things you love to do. Schedule an appointment at any of our 340 facilities by visiting athletico.com/appointments. Athletico, the official physical therapy provider of the Chicago White Sox. Athletico, better for everybody.
The guy that I think lasted a long time in the free agent market before this season was Ian Desmond. He had a magnificent first half for the Rangers, tailing off a little bit in the second half, but he was a great find for them.
Especially with the injuries and some of the needed flexibility they've had in the outfield this year.
Because he came as a shortstop, but had the ability to move to the outfield, which certainly fit in very well with what the Rangers had to do this year.
Ball and a strike on Frazier. That one lit his eyes up. 1-2.
Probably the #1 guy on a 1-year contract is Mike Napoli. And the Indians got themselves a huge banger in the middle of that lineup. The #4 hitter for $7 million. He brought some toughness to their team.
Floated to right. Borges. 2 gone. He's also kind of the fun guy in that clubhouse.
I mean, he's
not that they only have one, but he's been one of those types of players for them.
Interesting part about it was Dustin Pedroia calling up Terry Francona in the offseason and said, look, if you get a chance to get this guy, you got to bring him to your team because he's a winner, and he's going to help make your team that has never won as that group together understand how to win. He's the guy that's going to be the glue for your team. And of course, Pedroia was a great player for Terry Francona in Boston. He listened to what he had to say. He talked to the front office, who listened to what Terry had to say. And the rest is history for Cleveland. They're putting together a great year, and Napoli is a huge part of it.
Omar takes a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike to Narvaez. Leaders in the American League entering play tonight were Cleveland, Texas, and then a dead heat with Boston and Toronto at the top of the AL East, with Baltimore wrapping on the door, just a couple of games behind.
Can't forget a 1-year contract to Rajai Davis.
Yep.
Because we know just how devastating Davis can be with his 33 stolen bases.
Very disruptive at the top of that card as Narvaez flies out to Goodell in a 1-2-3 inning for the first time since the 4th. For the Phillies, it comes from Marriott, the reliever.
Leading 9-1, 11-4, up in hits. Been an errorless game. Abreu and Morneau back-to-back home runs in the 5th inning, and Jose is homered in 3 consecutive games. Driven in 9 runs in his last 10. Get the Honda you love at the Honda Summer Clearance Event, now at your Honda dealer.
Well, the signs of Jose Abreu awakening offensively have been loud.
Yeah, he's hitting the ball very hard to all fields. Pitch he got to tonight, right on the inside corner, get the head of the bat on it. Very nicely done.
Burris to left, Cabrera for out number 1. White Sox are proud to present Star Wars Night at the ballpark Saturday, August 27th, when the White Sox take on the Mariners. First 10,000 fans get a free Southpaw Star Wars bobblehead. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/Star Wars. There's a look at Jedi Southpaw. It's the happiest looking Jedi you've ever seen.
Very, very handsome.
This is a big mascot anniversary day in baseball history. You know that? One of
Is it the chicken?
No, it's Youppi.
I remember Youppi.
Yeah.
That big orange fellow.
Big orange expo guy.
Yeah.
Back in 1989, today in 1989, Youppi was the first mascot ever thrown out of a major league game, at least in recorded history.
Well, he was very feisty.
It was Tommy Lasorda who he was frustrated about Youppi's behavior at Olympic Stadium. Evidently, Youppi had jumped onto the visitors' dugout. The ground ball to second. Sanchez 2 away. Youppi jumped on the visitors' dugout, and it made quite the loud crashing sound. And Tommy Lasorda complained to the umpires.
Youppi had gigantic feet.
Oh yeah. He was ejected, and it eventually was a 22-inning loss for the Expos. Youppi was thrown out in the 11th.
He was so sad he couldn't root his team home. That's one of the reasons why they lost.
one of the reasons. That's the only reason the Expos lost. But the Canadians, the hockey team, were nice enough to adopt UP after the Expos fled the scene. 9-1 Sox after 7½.
The game. Well, who else? Carlos Rodon. He was brilliant tonight. Through 6 2/3 innings of shutout baseball, giving up just 3 hits, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. Wrap your hands around the official Italian beef for the Chicago White Sox at one of the 19 Bona locations.
Carlos ran into trouble in the first inning. 2 on, 1 out. And as so often you say, when it's your team that doesn't get the runs in that first inning, you say, oh, it's going to come back to bite us. And Carlos did it the opposite way tonight.
Well, the 9 runs certainly helped, but he's been really good in August.
Last 2 years, I mean, you look at the ERA after July ended last year, it was 2.27.
I mean, his last 3 starts last year was, you thought, okay, he's got it now and he'll just move ahead. Didn't quite work out the way he wanted to, but it appears now over a prolonged period of time, a lot longer period of time, that he has started to figure it out. Adubre Ramos on for the 27th time, 1-1 ERA, 4.07.
Met him on a Tuesday and your heart stood still.
Yeah, no. Yeah. He got him though.
1 out here in the 8th. I actually can't believe he did that. I'd have lost some money on that. On the road traveling and want to watch your Chicago White Sox? Subscribe to MLB.TV Premium for live or on-demand baseball on over 400 devices. Real-time highlights, live bookends, pitch tracking, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Here's Sanchez. Third base side and arching out of play.
It's Jacob Turner loosening up in the pen.
If it is Turner, he'll be contending with Franco, Joseph, and Rupp in the 9th inning. There's a strike. 0-2 on Sanchez, who drove in a run in the 6th. That was Garcia, who came home. 0-2. He goes after a ball in the dirt, and Rupp throws Sanchez out. 2 away in the Sox 8th. One last gasp for the kids. Night game weekday with school starting all around Chicago. Those are the fun ones, though, and you got a chance, especially early, right after school start. You say, look, all right, just come on, Mom, Dad, one more game. Just take us to one more game. You know, school starting, one more game. And then come the next week, you say, just go, one more. And then by the next homestand, you say, look, the season's almost over. One more game, all right?
Well, you've always got the weekends.
Yeah, but there's something really nice about weekday baseball. You know, you get home late, but you still go to school. You kind of tough yourself through it. In 7th grade English class. 1-2-3 inning for Ramos. To the 9th we go. Sox need 3 outs and an 8-run lead.
Was back in the 5th inning. Jose Abreu with a 2-run shot. A line drive rocket out of the ballpark is 17, giving him 70 driven in. It's brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford store or buyfordnow.com. And Jacob Turner comes into the ball game. He's on for the 12th time. He's 1-2 ERA. Well, it's up there.
To shortstop, Maikel Franco is set aside. His night will likely end at 1-for-4.
Tim Anderson's been a busy man at shortstop tonight, and he's handled it flawlessly.
By my unofficial count, six plays. Yeah. That
Six
makes it
ground balls.
official now.
Now it's official. 6 of them. Good positioning.
Tommy Joseph has one of those ground balls to Anderson. He's also bounced out to Frazier at 3rd, and he's struck out in the 1st. Turner to Joseph. 0-2. A guy who's had significant concussion problems. Got through it 3 in 3 years for Tommy Joseph.
That'll move you out from behind the plate.
And it has, from catcher to first base for him. 0-2. He's in the dirt. He's pulled off the 40-man roster after last year and was playing so well in AAA in mid-May that the Phillies purchased his contract, and he's been up since. Ball and 2 strikes. Just low. 2-2 on Joseph. Sox got a run in the first, 3 in the third, 3 more in the fifth, and 2 in the sixth, with the Phil's only run coming from a homer off the bat of Freddie Galvis as Joseph got locked up by Turner, 2 away.
Our Mazda replay shows 98 miles an hour on the outer third of the plate, and Joseph, looking for something else other than a fastball for a strike, just took it. Good movement. Threw that ball just about as hard as you can throw it.
So 2 down, 1 out to get. It's Cameron Rupp. First of 2 with the Phillies in hand for the Sox. That running fastball again at 96 for Turner. That ball is well hit. Left center. Eaton is there, but he can't hang on. We've seen so many magnificent game-ending plays from Eaton. It looked like we had another.
But just about as soon as that ball hit his glove, he hit the wall and jarred it out. So the ball that looked like it was out of the ballpark, it stayed in. Had him with a long run. He goes back. He had the ball, just dropped out of the glove. He had the ball secured and dropped out.
If this were football and he simply needed to make a baseball move to prove that he made the catch, you might call that a catch and a fumble. However, this is not football.
And he recovered it anyway.
Can't advance a fumble this late in the game. 2-0 on Ruiz. Just hit number 5 tonight for the Phillies. High and tight. Three and 0 to Carlos Ruiz, with Galvis coming next. If there is a next. Turner almost didn't come set there.
You're not going to see 5% of the balks called if you don't come set with a man at second as you are with a man at first.
It's inside, ball 4. You don't think a 9-1 2-out 9th inning balk's coming?
Well, it depends on who's umpire. But in this case, no, I don't think so.
2 on 2 out for Galvis. Jacob Turner wants to talk to Omar Narvaez. That was quick.
What do you want me to throw? Okay. Go back. Here it comes.
The nuance is staggering. Ball 1 to Galvis, who homered last time. And takes a strike. A lot of contortion from Galvis, and now a wry grin and a deep breath.
Well, very top of a very big strike zone.
It's in the box. It's adjoining the box. 2-1 to Galvis. Three balls and a strike. The avid collectors of 27 outs are getting a little itchy. 3-2.
A young contingent of Sox fans.
They were already standing. One sad Phillies fan watches a foul ball.
Oh, that went off Narvaez. I got a piece of him. Take another look, and well, right off the left elbow.
Yeah, time to clap. 3-2 from Turner. He got him. See, that extra couple of claps did the trick. 9-1 Sox over the Phillies in game 1 of this series.
Big offensive night for the Sox and a wonderfully pitched ball game by Carlos Rodon. And that young fan certainly enjoyed the waning moments of this one.
9-1 Sox winners. Victory number 60. And win number 3 in 4 games so far on the homestand. We'll wrap it up after this.